Hey guys, I'm Katie, or in this case, Katydyd, and welcome to my book nook. Okay, so it's not so much of a book nook, more just bookshelves in the place I'm living in currently, but hopefully someday I'll have an actual reading nook to show you guys, because who doesn't dream of that? I do, all the time. It'd be fantastic, so maybe someday. As you'll probably notice, this is my first video ever. I have not been big in the social media game ever until recently. So I'm especially new to participating in Booktube and trying this out and that kind of thing. But I am super excited, and I'm going to use this opportunity to go through the newbie booktuber tags to talk to you guys about why I'm doing this, why I've really started to be extremely active on social media, and what the point of the channel is. So, hope you guys are excited. I began this channel as a companion to my book blog. The book blog is KATIEDYD'S Book Nook, and I'm going to have book reviews, book club questions, just basically a lot of insight into the book world and what's happening, and that kind of thing. So I wanted to have a video, YouTube, as a companion to that. Because as much as I love reading and writing, I believe that there are some things that you can't completely get across in words alone. So this offers a more kind of face-to-face kind of give and take that you won't get from the blog. And hopefully it's maybe, everybody loves videos, so hopefully this gets a little more entertaining, you know, rather than just reading the blog. Hopefully. Currently, I am a bookseller. I work at a bookstore, an independent bookstore in my area. So from that perspective, I can give a completely different insight into the book world. From an actual bookseller's perspective, I have frequent access to ARCs, both e-ARCs and physical ARCs. So that's definitely very helpful for me to be able to help give you guys an idea of what you should be reading or what you may enjoy reading. Because I'm not here to tell you what you should read, just what I think is the best stuff out there. And even what's not the best, because everybody has their own opinions. But as a bookseller, I have a completely different input on a lot of things than some other people do who are just reading, are just reading as a hobby. The uniqueness that I can bring from that perspective can really help give a different side to BookTube than that's already out there. I am excited to be able to share my own take and recommendations on the books out there, because as a bookseller, I found that people actually really value what I have to say, in the book world at least. So I think it'll be fun to see which some of you guys would actually enjoy what I have to say and find it interesting. I love reading, like probably anybody else who loves reading loves reading. It's a teleporter. It takes you anywhere, everywhere you could ever imagine going. And it's so nice to be able, if you're having a rough time in our world, to just step out and just join a different world for a while, make the best friends you'll ever have the true love soulmate of your life, have the grandest adventures. I love reading just because of that factor. And it's a community. It can bring all kinds of different people together. I mean, you don't have to necessarily read the same thing or even in the same language to love reading. And I think that's just such a neat thing to be a part of. I don't really have a specific answer for this. I have just always remembered loving to be read to, and wanting to look at all the kids' picture books that I ever could. I mean, there's the typical Goodnight Moon, Velveteen Rabbit, Dr. Seuss, all that kind of stuff I loved. I do in particular remember Harry Potter was a part of the generation that really grew up with Harry Potter. So that when it started, I was a little on the young side to actually read it myself. So we did the audiobooks. My family and I would go on road trips, my parents and I, and they'd pop in an audiobook, and I can remember listening to them in the car. Lemony Snicket, Series of Unfortunate Events is another one that we used to listen to all the time in the car, and those really helped fuel my love of reading, along with just being read to at home all the time. I especially had a family that very much encouraged reading. In particular, a majority of my relatives have gotten me some kind of book over the years. My one aunt has, as far as I know, my entire life has gifted me for Christmas and my birthday a book every time. And somehow she always manages to find stuff that I've never even heard of, which is amazing considering I'm a bookseller. So you'd think that'd be like impossible, but it's really neat and I love it. I love that they always encourage me to read. As I said before, I am new to the scene, so I don't really have any favorite booktubers yet. But if I did, I would want to know how they'd pick the books to read or review, if that's what you're doing. Do you stick to a specific genre? Because, YA is really popular right now. Or do you prefer to go with anything recommended to you? You want to know that it's already good before you read it? Or if you have access to ARCs, are you primarily just an ARC reader because you want to tell your viewers the best stuff that's coming out? The most difficult part for me isn't going to be anything technical, even though I still have to learn, or even a schedule. It's going to be a personal challenge. I have a form of dyslexia, so that makes reading more difficult sometimes for me. So I sometimes have a lot of issues when it comes to actually keeping up with the reading schedule I try to set for myself, because some days I just can't get through a book. No matter how easy to read that book is, I just struggle with it so much. So I am going to plan a way to kind of have a support system for myself so that if I ever really need a break, I can just take a break to relax, because the biggest struggle for me is going to be internally, just trying to find a way that makes it so I don't struggle too much with my reading issues and I can actually get through books in a timely manner rather than being stuck on one book for forever, because that quite frequently happens for me. I can read a book in a day, or it could take me months to read a single book. It all depends. I started reading actually a little later than a lot of kids probably would. I can't say that for certain, but from what I can remember and what I've been told, that is the case. Because of my dyslexia, I had a lot of issues that I loved being read to, but reading on my own was such a chore. So I didn't want to do it. So when we started to be expected to do that in school, I really didn't want to. And it was really difficult for me. There is a time that I do remember made a significant difference for me when it came to reading. And it was, I had a couple of teachers, one of which was a speech therapist teacher who helped teach me skills in order to read better and understand. Because sometimes my reading issues aren't with the reading, but so much the comprehending of what I am reading. I use those skills to this day to do that. So I'm thankful for her for that. But when I remember really reading on my own was with the help of my fourth grade teacher. My fourth grade teacher, we had these reading sessions where she thought the best way to do it was to split the whole class into a couple of groups, and each group she'd pull aside and we'd have our own little reading session amongst ourselves, and she'd be there to help us. Well, whenever she found out that I was struggling, not only did she encourage these group reading sessions, she also took time to pull me away from everybody on my own to make sure I was actually understanding what we were reading. Because there were days that we'd read and I could read aloud what I was reading, but I couldn't tell you just what I read. So I specifically remember The Rats of Nim, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. That, and then Shiloh was another book that we read that I would have told you that I loved those books so much. I mean, I'm sure I enjoyed them, but now I think looking back on it, what I really enjoyed was the fact that I could read them on my own. I was able to get through them, obviously with help, but for the most part, I was reading it. And I didn't think that was going to happen because it was so difficult for me. So I really started reading. So I've always been read to, but I really started reading during that time when I was taught the skills how to read on my own, which I'm so thankful for that, because I couldn't imagine where I'd be now without those skills to help me read these books. I read anywhere and everywhere. I have obviously books all around my house. I have a book in my car. I have a book in my laptop bag for when I take to work. I have a book in my purse at all times. I am never without a book within reach of me, just in case, just in case something happens and I need to read, or I'm so bored out of my mind, I want something. So I will read anywhere. Anywhere I get a chance to read, I'll start reading. I have a habit of reading only when things are recommended to me. It's just, I'm around a ton of book people, so people are constantly coming to me and being like, read this is so good, you have to read this is amazing, you gotta read this, you gotta read this, you gotta read this. So I tend to not read anything else. But right now, because of the way the world is with, the ongoing pandemic, all of our book clubs are postponed, and anything kind of stuff being recommended to me is not really happening right now. So I actually have the time to explore other types of books to read. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the coming months, is just reading stuff on my backlog of my to be read pile that's been sitting around forever, but then also reading stuff that I've been wanting to read for a while now, but I just haven't had the chance to. So we've reached the end of the book tag, all the questions. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself and not too bored with this. So thanks for watching, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the next one, because I very much am.